going to be doing this paint by numbers. And I'm just going to go ahead and start it. Excuse the messy table. It's my craft table, so there's glue, paint, nail varnish, whatever you can think of. Any crafting material that can spill and stain is going to be on it. So, okay, I'm going to start with the sky since it's the biggest part. I don't know if it's on camera, but that's what I'm going to start with. And I'm going to use the biggest brush because it's such a big area. And I already went outside the line. That's okay though, because there's nothing above it. So these are the brushes that came with it. And this one is pretty small for such a big area. I should have grabbed one of my bigger brushes. Okay, I grabbed a bigger brush. So I'm going to retire this one for now. I'm going to eat it later. There's the part that's not quite so vast, but also not small enough for one of these guys. Okay, this should get the job done pretty quick. There I am going outside the line again. lot of times with these paint by numbers, you have to go over them twice because the first layer of paint is very opaque. Once it dries, it usually looks pretty sparse. So it's best to go over it a second time. If you're just doing it for fun though, I mean, it's not a requirement. Like, you don't have to go over it again, but like, see how you can see the number 8 underneath? Okay, now that the majority of it's filled, I'm going to go back to the little guy. The thing about paint by numbers is, even if you're a good painter, which by no means am I saying that I am, but even if you are a good painter, it helps, like, to not have to think. Like, sometimes it's nice to just paint without having to think. Everything's already thought out for you. Just once in a while, obviously, it's best to create your own art, but this kind of gives a way to just enjoy the process without having to worry about using too much brain power, I guess. I just think it's nice to not have to think about what colors you need to mix to get what color, where everything needs to go. It's all already thought out for you. So all you have to do is paint. And while I prefer creating my own paintings, this is still a nice reprieve when you get, because sometimes in any creative endeavor you're going to run into burnout or even lack of inspiration, and sometimes doing something like this helps to alleviate that, because you're not having to do really anything except for the fun part. And don't get me wrong, sometimes, you know, it is fun to come up with a concept for a painting and execute it, but it does have its very frustrating moments, like anything. But with this, you just put the paint where it says to put the paint. No trying to figure out how to get yourself out of some shading crisis or debate on what color to use in a certain part, what to add to the painting, never really being satisfied, so never being able to put the brush down. You don't have to worry about any of that with a paint by numbers. That's why I don't think anything like this, people should just say it's for kids. Like, no way. What, are you supposed to stop enjoying life when you're an adult? No wonder everyone's so stressed and burnt out all the time. We're not allowed to do anything to give us any semblance of respite without society judging us. But you know what? Forget what society has to say, because our society is immensely unwell. You just gotta, at the end of the day, do what makes you happy. As long as it's not hurting anybody else, who cares what anybody has to say about it? We're only here, as far as we know, one time, and it's not a long time. And you start to realize that the older you get, that it's really not a long time at all. We are here for seconds in the grand scheme of things. And then we're gone. And nobody knows what happens after that. Everybody has their theories and beliefs, but at the end of the day, nobody living today has been unliving. I mean, and I'm not talking about near-death experiences. Obviously, you know, there's people who've died for a few minutes and came back, and they report seeing things, but it's been people reporting what they're seeing. It's just like waking up from a dream and reporting that, except you have such high levels that it's a whole different experience. But there's also a bunch of conflicting, what do you call it? Conflicting, not anecdotes. I mean, I guess that could work. Just people whose heart have stopped and came back after several minutes. They all have conflicting stories. Some say they saw nothing, some say they saw a light, some say they saw their loved ones, some say they heard a voice. And it could all be true based on what each individual believes. They might see something, but people have also seen things contrary to what they believed in their life. People who weren't religious had religious adjacent experiences. People who were religious saw nothing. It's all relative to whatever your mind conjures up. Like it's just like in a dream. Like we don't all have the same dreams. That's pretty much what it is. So nobody alive today has actually died, as far as we know. I mean, if you get into the argument of reincarnation, then perhaps some people alive today have died, but if they did, they don't remember it. All that to say, we don't know what happens after death. Everybody can have their beliefs and their theories, but at the end of the day, we don't know. And we can't know until we're there. So, you know, it could be our soul just goes to another plane of existence to carry out a new life on a new planet. But it's the fact that it's all unknowns that makes us afraid to die. And anybody who says they're not afraid to die is probably either lying or has not given enough thought to death. To really fear it. But people who think of all the possibilities and don't just hinge on one belief or one theory, people who think beyond just that everybody dies, tend to be afraid to die. Because for all we know, we could be aware there might not be an afterlife, and we could just be aware. We could keep all our memories from this life and just spend an eternity in darkness, missing our loved ones from this life. It sounds horrible, and I'm not trying to give anybody an existential crisis. Actually, I shouldn't be talking about shit this heavy in this video, but I don't mean to give anybody any kind of existential crisis or anything. These are just my thoughts. And sorry if I'm making you anxious. That is not the intention. In a way, it is comforting. Makes you realize nothing really matters in this life, so you'll be forgotten within 3 generations. Most people don't even know who their great-grandparents are, in this country at least. Let alone remember them. We only remember them from pictures. And we never think about them, like, they just don't cross our mind because we never really knew them. It's like strangers. Oh yeah. All that to say, nothing that you do matters. Most of us are never going to be remembered. So just live your life unapologetically. And again, as long as your idea of fun isn't tormenting other people, like use empathy. Just put yourself in the shoes of somebody before you go, doing something that might hurt, that you enjoy. Make sure it's not going to hurt anybody else. I mean, it kind of goes without saying, but these days, I feel like nothing goes without saying anymore. Just think before you speak or act. Always ask yourself before you do something or say something to somebody, would I want this done or said to me? And if so, would I want this said or done to me without my consent? That's the biggest thing. Just making sure you're not hurting somebody else. in the pursuit of your own enjoyment. I know I'm going way outside the lines on these, but the point of this is just to enjoy painting. Enjoy putting color onto canvas. Now, some people might not enjoy just painting, filling in, it's basically like coloring in a coloring book. Some people may not enjoy that. But I'm telling you, if you're somebody who gets burnt out because you're always trying to you're just a perfectionist and you can never get anything perfect, but in your pursuit of perfection, you become burnt out. Believe it or not, I am a perfectionist. It doesn't really come through in the videos that I released because they're not that great, but if you knew how much time I spent trying to get them perfect, I had to let go of my perfectionism to do this because I've wanted to give back to this community for years now, and the reason that I haven't is all because of perfectionism. I needed the perfect camera, I needed the perfect lighting, I needed the perfect this, that, and the other. Nothing was ever good enough. I even tried filming a couple videos in the past, but I just hated them. So this go round, I'm uploading whatever I record because perfectionism is a killer. It will kill all your dreams and it will kill your life. You gotta get over the perfectionism if you ever want to live. Even people who appear to pull off perfectionism and you think that their work is just spotless, you don't know how long it took them and how frustrating the process was. Perfectionism is the most frustrating thing I think that you can deal with when trying to create anything. Be it videos, paintings, drawings, music, whatever it may be. I believe perfectionism truly zaps the life out of anything. It might not show in the end, for example with music. It may actually seem perfect. The music you listen to. Everything might seem perfect, but you don't know what that person's life is like and how much they struggled to get that, to achieve that. We gotta just let go of our perfectionism if we ever want to do anything in this life, because there are people, yes, that achieve such a high level of craftsmanship in what they do that we think that we have to be that good as well. But the thing is, we need to understand that there is an average for a reason, and there's nothing wrong with being average. There will always be somebody better. And so instead of wasting time worrying and never pursuing your dreams because of perfectionism, because you aren't satisfied because it's not perfect, which it will never be. Keep in mind also that those things we view as perfect creations, it's almost a guarantee that the artist has complaints about it. Because being a perfectionist, you are never going to be satisfied with what you put out. Even if it is as close to perfection as a human can get. But all of us can't be Van Goghs, Picassos, Einsteins. We can enjoy our life without being those things. The majority of us will never be remembered, and that's fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Because what does being remembered even do for those people? We can't know if they even know if they're remembered because we don't know what happens after death. So, if nothing really matters, then do the thing you've always dreamed of. Record the song. Paint the picture. Take those classes. Make that journey. Write that book. And don't stop there. Publish the book. Even if you can't get a Big 5 publisher, or even any publisher, even if you can't get a publisher, self-publish. There are authors who self-publish their works and are now making millions. It's something that in that industry was always talked about negatively because it used to be something that was very difficult to achieve. Self-publishing a book was almost a guarantee no one was ever going to read it. And times have changed, and that's no longer the case, but the stigma for some reason hasn't changed yet. I guess it hasn't been feasible to self-publish for long enough for that stigma to change, but self-publishing now is oftentimes better than traditional, because either way you're going to have to market yourself. The publisher's not going to do that for you. If you want to make music, you don't have to get a record deal anymore for that. While the internet has many downsides, it also has a lot of upsides. We can talk to people anywhere in the world without having to wait a month to receive a letter. We can instantly communicate with anybody in the world who has internet access. I think we take that for granted a lot of times. But it's no longer necessary to get a record deal to release your music. There are people making thousands of dollars a month recording music on their phone. If you have an iPhone, You have GarageBand built right into that. You can record on your phone. You can just use your headphones, this headphone speaker. There was a girl, I don't remember her name, but there was a lady. She had hundreds of thousands of subscribers on YouTube, and all she did was record on her phone. There are actually a lot of people right here on YouTube that they just record their music right on their phone, and they have millions of subscribers, hundreds of thousands of views on all of their videos. If they can do it, you can do it. But that's the beauty of the internet. The beauty in the negative space. Is that you don't need to have some corporate record label executive approve of your music. You can make whatever music you want to, and you can just post it on YouTube, post it on Spotify. And then you don't have to pay somebody else for your creation. Well, unless those, I mean, I know, I think Spotify you do have to pay to put your music on there, but it's not a lot, nothing near what you'd be paying a record label. They'd be getting most of your royalties, probably. I don't know exactly what the split is, but I know that it's a lot better, or a lot, I just know it's a lot. Like, if you do it all yourself, you don't have to pay anybody else. You're obviously going to save a lot of money. Just don't let perfectionism stop you. And don't give up. That's the most important thing. There are people who didn't achieve their dreams until they were in their 50s. Because they never stopped trying. Most people, they end up just giving up on their dreams and settling for the life script. And then they end up unhappy in the end. Some people, you know, they are happy with settling, but if you know you're not one of those people that's going to be happy with settling, don't. If you are settling and you know that in the future you're going to look back and wish you didn't, then don't. There's so much more to life than just following a script. You know, people say when they see an adult enjoying themselves, anything really, and they'll say, grow up. What, so I can be miserable like you? And the people who tell you to grow up or act your age, they're always the most miserable people. Like, I can see why you're so miserable. You think there's an age cap on fun. No, as I said earlier, as long as what you are doing for fun is not harming anybody else, who cares what the age limit is? Trying to fill in as many 7s as I can here. And don't be afraid to go outside the lines. Life's too short to stay in the lanes that other people think you should be in. Life's too short to stay stuck behind someone in the slow lane when the fast lane's wide open. I should grab a smaller brush for that part. I mean, it's okay. Whatever color goes there, I'll just cover up this with that. Oops. And it's kind of reckless of me to be going in these small areas with this big brush. But this painting is not mine, so it doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, it wouldn't have to be perfect if it was mine either, but I just find these to be quite relaxing. Oops. Okay, now that this started to dry, you can see that it's extremely sparse. Oops. What are you doing? My dog's in here. If you hear the grunting. He just left, seeming most undignified. Where are the other 7s? Here's one. Here's one. Here's one. Alright, I'm gonna switch to a smaller brush. Oh, here I go smearing it all over the place. Oops. If that doesn't mean I'm not showing. I guess the good thing about the colors being very transparent is that you can see when you're first going over it. Like parts like this, where it's kind of overlapping a little bit, you can see the lines where it's supposed to be another color. And you can read the number underneath. Sounds like it's getting windy outside. Oops. What color is 9? Oh, it's black. Well, that'll definitely overpower this then. didn't finish this part. Are there any more sevens on the roof? There's one right here. This little spot looks like a pear. If I edited out all the traffic, there'd be nothing left. So I just try to get rid of the loudest ones. And sometimes just keep the smaller ones just for the sake of not having to get rid of all the footage, because honestly there is so much traffic constantly that it just wouldn't make sense. Okay, I think I'm gonna finish the 14 and then do a part 2 or something, because this is gonna end up being 3 hours long otherwise. I feel like there was one over here somewhere, but I'm not seeing it. Unless it was this one that I already did that I'm thinking of. I had to finish this part. I'm completely blocking out other parts that are supposed to be another color. Here's some 14s. It's a 4. Oops, that was not part of that. There's another 7 I missed. Fourteen. I know there's some 14s hiding. I know it. Just blob it on there. That one kind of looks like a mushroom. I'm seeing a lot of sevens I missed now. Oops. Going off the line into another car. What's new? What's new? What's new? Any other 14s jumping out at me? Well, I'm not seeing any, but I'm sure I'm going to discover a few when I'm going through with the next color. Just gonna get the rest of this paint off the brush. Try to fill in some of those sparser areas that I already went over once with the 14. Alright, I'm gonna stop right here. Because it's gonna take a long time. So I'm gonna stop right here, and I'm just gonna have to make this into a 2-part video so that it doesn't end up being 3 hours long. So I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.